Welcome back to another episode of the Bearcat Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Meacham, former UC basketball player from 1997 to 1999 under the legendary coach, my man, Bob Huggins. And I was fortunate enough to wear the iconic Grand Jordan unis during my time. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Alex_Meacham. Meacham spelled M-E-A-C-H-A-M. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, just Alex Meacham. I'm on Snapchat, Big Meach 41. And I'm also on TikTok. All because of my producer, Stu Holt. And you know, Stu's trying to make me do more on TikTok, which we're going to dive into here shortly. But I want to tell you what you're going to hear from this episode. It's been a while since it was just, kind of me talking on an episode. I've always had guests or I'm interviewing a former player. But what you're going to hear today on this podcast, I'm going to give you some updates on some different things that I have going on that might be some interest to Bearcat fans. I'm going to talk about UC basketball, which it seems like it's been forever since they've played. And you know what? We have to talk about this. And it's been a year. By the time this podcast comes out, it's been a year since Kobe Bryant has tragically passed away. And we have to talk about Kobe. So that's a great segue. I'd like to bring in my producer, Stu Holt.
Good. Very good.
Stu, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I am doing good, Meach. I'm glad to be here. Another day, another opportunity.
There you go. I like that. So this TikTok thing.
Yes.
You've really pushed me to do TikTok, and we actually had a meeting prior to this podcast in which I want to feel like you were yelling at me a little bit that I needed to be more active on TikTok.
I mean, I wouldn't say yelling, but like you said, pushing you.
That was my TikTok. That was me actually opening the app to even see what my name is on TikTok.
See, yep, and you need to be on there. You will be on there, Meach.
Okay,
you will be on there.
Well, based on a couple projects we have going on, which we'll discuss here shortly,
Absolutely.
I need to be more active on TikTok.
You
so I
have to
promise I will do that as active as I am on other social media outlets. Obviously, it's been a crazy year with Kobe's passing, with the whole COVID pandemic situation. How are you holding up? You tell everybody you coach, basketball at Walnut Hills High School. How's that going?
It's going good. We're more than halfway through the season as far as games. We probably have about 7-8 games left. We've had some games that had to get rescheduled because of COVID.
When are you going to make those up? After you finish up your...
No, we do that on the like one of the makeup games is this upcoming Sunday.
Okay.
And then another one should be coming up soon, but we just get them in when we can.
Yeah.
Whenever both teams are available, you try to get it in before something else happens. So
this is crazy.
It's been crazy. It's been crazy.
Unprecedented times, and you just have to be flexible. You have to adapt.
You got to be flexible and adapt. There's a lot of games that happen. Like some teams are having. I think we had like 3 or 4 games just in 1 week. Because you're just trying to get it in, you try to cram it in because now you're running out of time as far as the season, and you're trying to get those games in. So some teams are playing 5 games a week. I saw one team schedule; they had like 5 games in 1 week in 7 days.
Unbelievable,
which is crazy.
And this has got to be a really tough time for high school students from a standpoint of a lot of these kids want to play at the high school level or the college level,
right?
Beyond high school. And the tough thing is the recruiting period. Is just so out of whack right now. College coaches can't be out.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, some of these kids that are seniors in college have been granted an extra year to come back and play.
Right.
So now how does that affect who they recruit and what scholarships are available? I'm not even sure the details of all that, but that's just a crazy time for these kids.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy, man. Like you said, it's just something we've never seen before. Something that nobody saw coming, yet everybody's affected by it. And that's the tough part. These kids are looking for answers, of course. I'm sure they're like, well, what does that mean for me? What does this mean for me and what I'm trying to do? It's just, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
You have a podcast.
I do.
A very good podcast.
Good, very good, very good.
Can you tell everyone about your podcast?
Yes, it is called The Good Podcast.
Very good.
You know, shout out to my co-host Jay Thomas,
The
all the way in L.A.
The Honorable Jay
the
Thomas.
Honorable Jay Thomas. And yeah, so it's The Good Podcast. Right now, we're in season 3. And in this season, we're actually interviewing. Every episode, we have an interview. So we're talking to a specific person about their story, and it's not really just about the good of their story, but also the struggle. And one theme of this whole season that we've seen is every guest at some point in their life, they were interrupted, and something happened to where they didn't see it coming. And at first they saw it as a terrible situation. It was like a rock bottom situation, but at the end it turned out to be good. And, you know, The Good Podcast. So
some of the folks that you've interviewed, can you tell us?
We've had a plethora. We've had a plethora of people.
Spell that.
Plethora. Plethora.
I don't even know if that's right or wrong.
Ding.
Colin,
That's how they feel.
Colin, is that? Can you check that? Colin Cruzy is our fact checker.
He's our fact checker for today. But no, I'm gonna say every single guest real quick. I'm gonna shout them out. We've had, I think it's 10 or 11, but number 1 was Maceo Teague, Diamond Hall.
Whoa! You can't go past Maceo.
Can't go past Maceo.
Maceo plays for
Baylor University,
who's one of the best teams in college basketball.
Yes. They're doing very well. He's doing his thing.
It's awesome to see Maceo doing well. I've known him since he was a little guy.
Yeah,
it's awesome to see him doing that well.
Oh man, balling, and his path, his journey was crazy.
It was unconventional. It was
man. Yeah. It's just so I'm very proud of him. But him, Diamond Hall, Josiah DeGuara, UC.
Don't go past that.
Very good.
Tell everybody.
Very good.
About
Josiah DeGuara, UC tight end now with the Packers.
Yes.
And so yeah, man, he's doing his thing too.
I'm sure the Bearcat fans would love to hear that one. Which episode is that?
That is episode 3 of season 3.
Okay.
And it's very good. It's very good. Lawrence Kane, Kelsey Mitchell.
Kelsey Mitchell, who played at Ohio State. Went on to the WNBA.
Plays for the Indiana Fever now.
Nice.
Doing her thing. Kevin Johnson, another UC.
There we go.
Very good. Very good. That's the theme as well. Pat Coyne's the next one, UC.
This is like
the good podcast.
I like this.
Oh, very good. I didn't even think about that until just now. Mark Dorris, Ashley Towns, DeMarcus Smith, and Greg Hammonds. And so we have 11 episodes so far, season 3.
You know what's funny? So at one point, I can't remember if you were on. I think you were on my podcast, and you talked a little bit about your podcast, and one of our players' mother was listening to my podcast, went to hear your podcast, and loved it. Do you remember that story?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yep. So
very good.
That's just how that works.
Yeah.
I love it. So I advise people to go out and definitely check out Stu and Jay's podcast. Very, very well done. A couple things I want to talk about that Bearcat fans should be excited about, and that is a couple projects that we're working on as part of our newly formed company and our team here called Shine One Media. Stu Holt and Colin Cruzy.
Good.
Colin's over here to the left of us. He's recording actually today. He's doing the visuals for this that will be on YouTube. And it wasn't. How long had he been working with us until we figured out his last name was actually Cruzy and not Cruz?
Yeah.
We even called him Cruz on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he didn't correct us.
He never said anything. And
then
do
you remember how we found out?
It was on a phone call, right?
We were doing. Was it when we called Nick Simpson?
Yep.
And we introduced Colin. He said, "I'm Colin Cruzy," and Stu goes, "Wait a minute, your last name's Cruzy, not Cruz?" And he goes,
"Why'd you say it like that?"
And you had not corrected us. You just went with the flow, and he said that people had pronounced his name incorrectly for so long. He just kind of goes with the flow. But so we've got a team here now, and what we're doing is just not only does Shine One Media produce these podcasts, but also we have more content that we're doing. For example, my book, Walk of a Lifetime, that was released in 2000, will be an audiobook, and it will be released this February. and Shinewood Media has produced it. But one of the things that I'm very excited about is the promotion of this book. And the idea for the promotion came from Stu Holt.
Very
Stu,
good.
you want to tell him the 10-day promotion?
The 10-day promotion, the book is called Walk of a Lifetime, right? And so, we were thinking like, you know what? It'd be good promotion for you to retrace your steps.
Good.
Very good. Very good. So it's called Retracing Your Steps, and, just going to different places that were a big part of the journey, and doing some videos, some visuals, and you talking about it. It's very good.
And what I loved about this, we've recorded these already. We've done the video, and Colin helped do this. Stu bowed out because it was too cold. Right, Stu?
Oh, well, I don't think so. I think that is a false narrative.
Is that alternative facts?
That's alternative facts. That's false.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Now listen. You came up with the idea. You pumped us up. We were all excited, and then when it came time to shoot it, Stu couldn't make it.
Well,
and it was freezing outside.
I wish I could have been there.
You wish you could be. Colin and I braved through snow, ice, rain.
Well, I thought Cruz would be very very happy to do something like that.
He was.
Yeah,
he did a great job, and it was really fun for me because I got a chance to go back to all the different areas in which I either played basketball or wherever I was really impacted, my life and my journey in basketball. We went back to my grade school, and I told a story from my grade school, and I'm actually in all 10 videos that were released, one video every day of retracing my steps. I'm actually wearing the Air Jordan sneaker from that particular experience.
That's good.
So I managed to go through my 500 plus shoe collection and find, which, trust me, that was a job in itself.
Yeah.
But I found the original shoes from that experience. So the Jordan 3s, the Jordan 14s when I was at UC, the Jordan 10s, on and on. So it's really cool how I think we're going to tie all this in. So that will be prior to the book release. We'll have 10 days of the videos that promote it. And then after the book is released, we are going to do a kind of a giveaway.
Very good. Very good. We are doing a giveaway. It's, we had different people come on and stuff like that, and do some voiceover work with the audio book. And so, there's 10 chapters.
Yep.
There's 10 chapters. And so giving away each chapter, it's signed by specific people. Of course, Meach has signed each one as well.
Yep.
And so that's going to be a nice little giveaway as well.
Yeah, we'll be giving those away to folks that purchase the audiobook. I'm going to throw in a couple special prizes in there as well. I've got some old memorabilia from my time playing at UC. And some Bearcat fans are going to get some pretty cool memorabilia. One thing I think is really cool, and I almost want to make sure a true Bearcat fan gets this, but I have some old from when I played that there were scouting reports. So we would play UNC Charlotte and how to guard Diego Guevara or whoever we were playing. We had the scouting report. I'd love to be able to find, and I've got to go back and look for this, but we had a scouting report for Rhode Island when Lamar Odom and Catino Mobley played.
Wow.
And it kind of breaks down how to guard them. So things like that, and Bob Huggins, it's all typed up. Bob Huggins' handwriting's on it and everything. So little cool things like that I, believe it or not, I don't know why I'm like this, but I save all those little things. Like, I talk to my old teammates and they're like, man, I threw all that stuff away. But yet I kept it. Kept everything. I have T-shirts from like my first day, or like workout shirts.
Yeah,
a little bit of everything. I have the first ever pair of Air Jordan socks.
Wow.
So they gave us the first ever. We were the first ever Jordan team, and we had Team Jordan socks. I have the first pair. They never made another pair like this. I still have those. I might have to throw those in the giveaway.
You might have to throw those in there.
That'd be nice.
That'd be
part ways.
Hey, that'd be good.
Some of that stuff's hard to part ways with, but hey, Bearcat fans love that stuff. I think they'd be in good hands. I know there's some diehard. I've been on like Instagram and Twitter, and some of the Bearcat fans have these man caves, where they have memorabilia. But it's amazing.
Wow.
Some of the stuff they have.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really cool stuff. So hopefully I have some stuff that can be added to their collection. And with our Shine One Media company, we also do a lot of, video work for different people. We're working with a group called ESF CrossFit. Stu, you want to speak on that?
Yeah. Shout out to ESF. We've been doing, we already have started doing some videos for them and doing their videos of them and their families and doing their workout videos and stuff like that. Just a plethora of things.
The second time you used plethora.
Yeah,
man.
that's the word of the day. It's the word of the day.
Did he spell it right?
I know I spelled it right.
You notice he didn't even pause. He spelled it. So,
absolutely.
So here's what's happened. I think he figured out he was coming on the podcast today. So he was like, I've got to get a word that's going to blow Meach away. I got to make sure I can spell it, and I'm going to use it twice.
Well, that's what happens when you hang around Jay Thomas. You pick up on a bunch of words.
Does he expeditiously?
Expeditiously. Every episode, he has a different word.
He tweets that out once a day.
Oh, at least once a day. That's his thing.
He's a treasure.
Yeah, he is.
A treasure.
But shout out to ESF. Doing a bunch of videos for them. So
yeah, it's kind of cool. Nick Simpson, one of the owners, Johnny Adele and Nick Simpson are the owners of ESF CrossFit, and I go there and work out, and they need some marketing materials and some different videos to help promote what they do. Nick Simpson, one of the owners, played at North Carolina A&T in college, and played basketball at Highlands in Northern Kentucky. And believe it or not, kind of a crazy tie is UC, when I played, was the first ever Jordan Brand school, and North Carolina A&T was also a Jordan Brand school shortly after we were.
Wow.
So it was North Carolina A&T, Cal, St. John's, and UC were the first four. We were the number one. We were the first one. So unfortunately, by the time Nick got there to college, they were not Jordan Brand anymore. The contract expired. I think they were like Russell.
Oh, no, Russell. No.
But I'll tell you a crazy story. So Nick, and I think you heard this when we did the video with Nick, when Nick was being recruited out of Highlands, and Nick was one of the best players in Northern Kentucky, 1,000-point scorer at Highlands. I think he was a 1,000-point scorer in college. But when he was recruited, one of the schools that recruited him was Davidson. And Nick would have been in the class with Steph Curry. Could have went to school and played with Steph Curry.
Played with Steph.
Now, I don't know if Nick would have been a 1,000-point scorer.
No, he wouldn't
along with Steph, but he could have. He probably would have still been friends with him today. So yeah, Nick's a great dude, and I advise anybody that's looking for a good workout. And what I loved about going to ESF and working out with Nick is Nick played basketball. He knows basketball movements, and I've been through 3 knee surgeries through my basketball career. He's been through knee surgery, so he knows how to work with me around that. So where I'm not, damaging, my knees. So shout out ESF CrossFit. Also, I have to say this. We've done some podcasts recently. Our last podcast that we released was with Steve Boymel. And Colin and Stu, you guys were there for that podcast. That was really cool. Steve had been going to UC basketball games since 1969.
Wow. And
the only reason... What year were you born, Colin? You were born in 96? So flip it around, 69, 96. What year were you born?
95.
95. I was born in 76. So I'm the elder statesman here.
Yeah.
But to think that, man, he was going to games in 69, and the only reason he hadn't gone to games prior to that was because he couldn't afford to go. So he would have gone to games if he could afford it.
Right.
And Oscar played in 1960, and then they won the championship 61-62. So he kind of followed after that wave. And to really hear his story of going from being a guy who was sitting in the last row in 1969, barely being able to afford tickets, to, being one of the big supporters, especially financially, to UC, specifically the basketball program, is a pretty cool story. And he's a beautiful home.
Yeah, he does.
Right?
Very beautiful home, yes.
So make sure you guys go back and check that out. That was episode 74. Don't forget, just some couple of our past podcasts, John Williamson, John Williamson and Deontay Vaughn, in my opinion, were the two guys that held UC basketball together after Huggins was fired. Andy Kennedy left and went to Ole Miss, and Mick Cronin took over. In those 2 years when Mick Cronin really struggled, I think, Mick might have won in 2 years, I want to say 24 games. He only won, so he didn't win a lot of games. And fans were kind of jumping off the bandwagon. But John Williamson and Deontay Vaughn really held it down. So John Williamson talks about his, time at UC in those 2 years and, how tough they were. Justin Williams, episode 72, one of the writers from The Athletic. He's a great, great writer. Really great writer. Michael Perry, episode 71. And if you haven't picked up Michael Perry's book yet, it's Tales of the in the Locker Room of Bearcat Basketball. It to me, Stu, it's like the encyclopedia of UC basketball. And what's so unique about his book, he interviewed guys that aren't living anymore, and there was really no details of their experience and story ever told before. So really, if you look at Michael Perry's book, I mean, he really has the encyclopedia of UC hoops, man. Michael's book is a treasure. He's a great, great dude.
Wow. Yeah.
Episode 70 was with Kevin Johnson. We talk about this year's team and what's going on. And Kevin Johnson, your guy,
very good.
You've interviewed,
very good. KJ.
And then what do you say?
I said KJ.
KJ, good dude. Known him since he was a little guy too.
Yeah.
Episode 69 with Keith Jenkins. And I'm tell you what, Keith Jenkins and I've never met Keith. That was our first time really having a conversation. He's with the Inquirer, the beat reporter for the Bearcats, and Keith and I had such a great rapport. He and I are going to do it again. I think this month or next month coming up in February, he and I are going to do another podcast. He wants to come on, Stu, and he wants to talk about some things that are dear to my heart. One of which is he wants to talk about the top 5 Air Jordans of all time.
Okay.
That's right.
That's
right here.
Yeah.
He also wants to talk about top 5 rappers of all time, and that's right here.
Oh, for sure. I already know who your number one is.
Oh, if you don't know, Jay-Z is my favorite rapper, and I think Jay-Z is his favorite rapper of all time. So it's going to be interesting to see where we fall. 2 or 1 to 4. I know he and I started the discussion because he disagreed with somebody I have in my top 5, and we kind of got into it. This was off podcast, so he's like, I got to come on and we got to do a list. So we're going to do that soon, and hopefully we do that podcast and we're actually able to talk about some Bearcat basketball. Stu, they haven't played a basketball game at UC in forever.
I feel their pain. I feel it.
It's the sign of the times.
Yeah.
UC's, Stu, right now they're 3-7, and I'm trying to think. Their last game. Their last game was against Wichita State. That was January 10th. Ironically, their next game is supposed to be Wednesday, January 27th, versus Wichita State. Hopefully they're able to play that game. Yeah. They've had, listen to this, Stu. They had the East Carolina game postponed, Temple game postponed, Houston game postponed. They're supposed to play Wichita State Wednesday. The game this coming Saturday, January 30th, has already been postponed. Craziness.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I hope we can make it through a college basketball season.
I know.
Apparently, there's a second wave of this stuff coming, and I hope it doesn't put us back, into an athletic shutdown. Tough times.
Very, very tough.
Now, Stu, I'm gonna bring you back here in a second. I'm gonna dive into some UC hoops talk, okay. But I'm gonna bring you back in because we've got to talk about Kobe.
Got to.
And I know Kobe's your GOAT.
Yes.
Right. So we've got to talk. And what's so ironic about our conversation we're gonna have is the day Kobe passed away is the day we were working on filming a project, and we did a podcast that day on his death.
Yep.
And here we are, a year later. Crazy.
Very crazy.
Talk about the Bearcats basketball team here real quick, because I was talking with Stu about just all these games being postponed. And if you look at this season, it has just been an up and down season. And I really feel bad for Coach Brannon, because, he takes over the team last year, and I think he did a fantastic job, all things considered. And listen, I know a lot of things that were happening internally, a lot of Bearcat fans don't know about. And I can't speak about a lot of those things. They have to release that information, and he really had to navigate through a lot of things and did a fantastic job between his father's death and just taking over a new team, having to basically do some speed recruiting, getting guys in. I think he did a great job with that. And then the season getting cut short just right when they were starting to peak. And I was talking with Trey Scott. I interviewed Trey Scott, and he told me I think I interviewed Trey Scott shortly after the season had ended. And he told me he felt like they were just kind of hitting on all cylinders at that point, and they were going to that conference tournament. I think they were down in Texas for the tournament, and he felt like they were going to win that tournament, get into the NCAA tournament, and do some damage. And unfortunately, it was cut short. And then the recruiting period got knocked out. So, the college coaches couldn't be out recruiting. And then you start this season in a pandemic year where Coach Brannon really did not have an opportunity to coach his guys during the off season. And what's crazy about that is, he's the type of guy that has a system where he's got to have his guys learning the system, and he's got to have them early. And they kind of work through some things, and he builds. So Coach Brannon's kind of the blueprint for success is, you don't want to be great early and then fade away. You want to kind of build that momentum, and then by the time you get to conference play, you're hitting on all cylinders. And then when you hit the NCAA tournament, you're making that run. Because I had a conversation with Coach Brannon. I want everybody to hear this. I'll never forget this. We had a private conversation. We're sitting on some steps. We were getting ready to actually record a video. I was doing a video project with him on fatherhood for the Talbert House organization here in Cincinnati, a nonprofit. And Coach Brannon looked at me, and he said to me, he says, "Meach, we're going to get this. We're going to get the Bearcats back to the Final Four." And he literally, I felt like he looked through me when he said this. He was dead serious. And I at that point, I said, this dude is definitely the guy for the job. So I think, his business plan is to have this basketball team every single year ready for a tournament run. And I don't know how things are going to pan out this year. I doubt this basketball team makes any tournament, but who knows? And this is the one thing I want to say on this podcast is I think this is just one of those years where you just kind of have to chalk it up as it is what it is. We're 3-7 right now, been up and down, in quarantine right now, games being postponed. And basically the way I look at it is Bearcat fans have to look at this season as, hey, a lot of these young guys that we have, we just got to get them experience on the court and build for next year. And think about this. The recruiting period for April, so college coaches are allowed to be out 2 weekends in April to recruit in person at AAU tournaments. That has already been canceled. I don't know if they actually posted it on the NCAA site yet, but I know from a source internally that will be announced that period has been canceled. So now the only recruiting live period that's available will be in July. I don't have very much confidence that that's going to happen. So again, these guys are having to recruit with, just unusual circumstances. So they've got to do the best that they can based on that. So what I think Bearcat fans, what we have to look at with this year is how can a lot of these guys get experience on the court? Zach Harvey, you think about how he's progressed every single game, getting him more minutes. And just helping these young guys get acclimated to the system, and hopefully they come back next year, some new recruits. They can address some recruiting or some holes they need to fill with recruiting. He has some time with these guys in the off season. They're getting workouts in, and can kind of start next year fresh. That's that's kind of my hope, and that's the way I look at it. Who knows how many games they're going to play the rest of this year, but you got to kind of find the golden nugget from within. Just such an unusual year. And for those that have been judging, I think, Coach Brandon and some of these players based on this year, you can't. You absolutely can't judge them on just such an unusual year. And you can't compare them to, I heard some people saying, oh, Mick Cronin's, doing well with UCLA. I know they just lost to Stanford on a buzzer beater, but he was undefeated in conference play going into that. And yes, he was doing well. Just different situation, different circumstances. And every team's kind of going through different situations. And it is what it is. And you have to find the golden nugget behind that. And I think that is watching these young players improve and learning the system. So with that being said, I don't have much more to say other than I am confident that they're going to play Wichita State on Wednesday. And if they do play them, they're going to be playing Wichita State without really having practiced. These guys haven't been around each other. They're not going to be in shape. And it's going to be kind of it's like, and I'm in the AAU world, it's going to be an AAU game in some respects where there's not a lot of practice reps and guys are going to be out of shape. And hopefully just magically can shoot the ball well, because Wichita State has played some good basketball here and there, and they're a good basketball team. So we'll see what happens, and beyond that, who knows? Let's just be happy that we can watch Bearcat basketball when we can. So we'll come back with some more content. Hopefully they play Wichita, and that'll allow us to talk a little bit more the next podcast on how this team's doing. With that being said, I want to bring Stu right back in and talk about Kobe real quick before we kind of sign off. Like I said, Stu, last year we did a podcast. We were actually filming a video for my AU program, Shining Star. Yep. We were doing a promotional uniform video the day Kobe passed away. And Kobe's your GOAT. We've had many discussions on Kobe versus Jordan. You were wrong, but we had many discussions.
And how disrespectful is that?
I promised I would. I promised.
Wow.
I would not discuss the Kobe Jordan debate anymore.
Yeah, from now on, you have to call him the Kobe Bryant. From now on,
I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
You know what?
I appreciate it.
I would tell you this. Unfortunately, when people pass away, you discover how great they were.
Yep.
We know we knew Kobe was great, but we didn't know how great Kobe was. We started because he started getting all his flowers. We started hearing all.
I knew, and that's why.
Whoa. But you were starting to hear stuff that you didn't know about.
No.
Am I right?
No.
You were hearing stories from other NBA guys.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
That's greatness.
You're right.
When you're to me, Kobe's greatness isn't what he did every night on the court. His greatness to me is how he inspired the next generation to be great and try to be better than him.
Right.
That's
and
his mentorship.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Absolutely. Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, guys like that,
Booker.
man. Booker, Devin Book, can't forget D Book, and
they were all looking at Kobe.
All looking at Kobe, man. And he was a teacher of the game, what he was doing with his daughter and that team there, just trying to push the women's basketball forward, that movement forward. And he was doing a lot of good things, with books for, young kids that had sports stories in it, the Punies and all of that stuff, podcasts, and he was doing a lot of good. No question about that. And like you said, he inspired a lot of the great young players in the NBA right now. And to be honest with you, what he was doing in the media at that point prior to his death and some of the plans that he had. And I got wind of some of his plans because one of Kobe Bryant's good friends is a guy named Kevin Frazier, who's on entertainment. He's the host of Entertainment Tonight, who lives in L.A. Kevin was actually supposed to go to the Mamba Center to watch his daughter play. Kobe asked him to come, and he didn't go. And but I know Kevin very well. Yeah.
And we texted and we talked about it a little bit, and he was telling me all the stuff that Kobe had lined up media wise. He goes, it was no sports figure had ever done what he was about to do.
Oh man.
And that inspires me.
Yeah.
That inspires us to the podcast, all the things that we do.
No doubt.
And it should continue to inspire us.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy. We're gonna be this week. We're recording this just for transparency. We are recording this. It's Sunday. We're gonna release this on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
The anniversary of his passing is on Tuesday. There's gonna be a lot of, I think, tributes and different things we're gonna see this week.
No doubt.
I remember where I was when I found out. I was at home. I was actually shaving. And I was getting ready for the day because I knew we had to film the video later on that day. And Brandon Seho, who's one of the anchors at Channel 5, called me. And he said, hey, I got some bad news for you. And I thought, because of, you know, he's an anchor at WLWT that I do work for. I do some, you know, high school basketball reporting. I thought he was going to say something happened at the station with somebody. And he goes, Kobe died. And I'm going, Kobe who?
Right.
Because there's more than one Kobe.
Right.
There's only one Kobe.
No, yeah,
but
yeah.
there are more than one people that I know.
Right.
There's a young man named Kobe Rogers who plays at St. X, who's one of the better players in Cincinnati. And he's like, Kobe Bryant. And I'm like, Brandon, that's not true. So I'm thinking Brandon like saw it on Twitter, and it's one of them things where it was like Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince. Like he died like 4 years prior.
Right. Yeah.
Every year was like he died.
Yeah.
Until he really did die. And then when he really died, it was like, is this true or not? Like,
right.
And I was like, Brandon, you can't believe. And he goes, no, our affiliate in LA called and said it's true. I'm telling you, I sat down, and I remember this. I was shaving, and I stopped, and I just sat, and I was just like I was in a fog.
Yeah.
I couldn't just picture it.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was at home, sitting on the couch, getting ready to watch the Pro Bowl.
Wait a minute, you wrote Pro Bowl? People watch the Pro Bowl?
I was at that time.
Man, I didn't even know that was still a thing.
Well, let me say this. The Pro Bowl was on, and I was sitting down.
Okay.
In front of that television set.
I was going to say, I didn't know people watched the Pro Bowl.
And
go ahead.
because, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this. You know, I probably was on my laptop about to do something at the same time. And we're sorry to have to make this announcement. Kobe Bryant has died. I'm like, excuse me? They did that at the Pro Bowl. That's how I found out. It was on they made an announcement before the Pro Bowl started. I think it was just about to start, and I'm just like, and then I just started getting so many phone calls, text messages, and decline. Of course, I wouldn't answer no calls, but it was crazy, man. It was crazy. I was like, this has got to be fake. And then I started seeing stuff on social media. It's crazy.
Originally, they said that his whole family was in the helicopter, and then they said that
said Rick Fox. When I saw Rick Fox, I'm like, Rick Fox.
Rick Fox said people were blowing up his phone, and he was like, "What? Like, what's going on?" And yeah, it was just so much stuff out there. And the funny thing is, I know what a big Kobe Bryant fan you are.
Yeah.
I didn't even talk to you until the video shoot. I was like, I don't even want to talk to him until he walks in.
Yeah.
So you walked in and you just put your head down, just shook your head, and I was like, man. And I remember a couple of our kids walked in, Reese Murphy from Covcath, Donovan Stocks from Covcath, two very, very good players from Northern Kentucky, and they just couldn't stop talking about it. And you know what's crazy? So my dad, he had, shortly after Kobe passed, my dad had heart failure and went to the hospital. And I went to the hospital to stay with him and visit him. And I remember I walked in, and right on his little stand was a magazine. I want to say it was like Time magazine or one of them, and it had a big picture of Kobe. and it had his, birth year and then death year on there. And I grabbed the magazine and I turned it over. I said, Dad, I can't even look at his face.
Yeah.
I can't. And it's hard to believe, even today, that he's gone, because he was just such a bigger than life figure. He's always seemed like he was smiling. He was in such a good place. You just can't picture a guy like that. Not that you can picture anybody, dying suddenly, but you just couldn't picture a guy like that being gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's still crazy. Still to this day, it's like random moments. I'd be like, oh, he's gone. Like whether I see a video or whatever, just something random will happen, or you'll see something on social media and you're like, man, Kobe's actually gone. Yep. He's still unbelievable. Still unbelievable.
And I always say this. This is probably one of the wilder things with the story is shortly after his death, the pandemic hits.
Mm-hmm.
And to think if the pandemic would have started earlier, he would not have been able to go up on that helicopter because the Mamba Center would have been closed.
Yep.
And no games would have been going on.
Yep.
Kobe would still be alive. During this pandemic, not only Kobe, but man, we've lost a lot of great people.
We have.
Lost a lot of great. And I was thinking about this too. Hank Aaron just recently passed away.
Yeah.
And I learned so many things about, like I wasn't alive when, Hank Aaron's last year, I believe, was like 1976 or something. I think his last year was 76. I was born in 76.
Mm-hmm.
So I never saw Hank Aaron play. Wow. But you hear about it, but I didn't know how great he was until after his passing, and I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we learn so much about people, after they're gone. You always hear that, give them their flowers while they're here.
Right. Yeah.
We need to start doing that more.
We do.
That's why I tweeted out my appreciation for LL Cool J's music.
Very good.
I did.
Did you?
And people were going at me. I'm like, man, give LL Cool J his flowers now.
Yeah.
LL Cool J is up there in hip hop. I don't care what anybody says. Give him his flowers.
Give him his flowers. Might as well.
I had to transition into that.
Okay.
Stu,
we went to LL Cool J.
I don't know how we went from Kobe
to LL Cool J. What type of stuff is this?
Are you familiar with LL's music?
Mama said knock you out. Good. That's all I got though.
Cruzy, are you familiar with LL Cool J?
That's the only song I got.
He probably didn't even know at first until I said that.
Honestly, no.
So just let me just say this real quick. A lot of people only know LL for some of the later music, but man, if you go back to Radio, to I'm Bad, Walking with the Panther, man, I can go on and on. This guy was battle tested. You did not want to battle LL Cool J.
Cool J.
Kool Moe Dee and him had some legendary cannabis. He went at Ice-T. He went at a lot of rappers.
Ice-T. Now all three of them are Crime Stoppers. They NCIS.
And that's a great segue to end this podcast. Well, one thing real quick. So I believe next podcast we're going to basically plug in all of our new sponsors, and I'm excited to do that. I'm glad the podcast. Thank you to all the listeners out there who helped us get to this point where all the hits that we've gotten has allowed us to approach a couple folks, and people approach us about wanting to sponsor the podcast. So we really appreciate all the Bearcat fans out there, and just anybody that's listening. It's crazy to believe that. I know you do your podcast and you find this out, but people that listen all over the country, all around the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's people in Japan that listen to the Bearcat basketball podcast.
Yes,
and in fact, there is. I got a message from a guy. He's from here, but he moved out to Japan, and this is his way to get information.
International.
So shout out global. Yes, I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode. This is episode 75. Believe it or not, we've done 75 of these. Once again, you can check me out on social media. I'm on Twitter and IG at Alex_Meacham. Meacham spelled Meacham. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, Alex Meacham. On Snapchat, Big Meach 41. And Stu, I'm on TikTok.
Good.
More TikTok videos to come.
Very
wait,
good.
not more. Just
Yeah.
I need to start with
You need
one.
to start with one.
And then we go from there. So once again, I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of the Bearcat Basketball Podcast. Go Bearcats.
Good.